Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that bit of B-roll at the start there. In the last video, we set up Superior Drummer 3, and now we're going to build on top of that and add some bass and some guitars. So for bass, I use this SansAmp VT bass DI pedal. That's effectively my bass amp, but it actually has a parallel output, which means it splits the signal and I get to plug into another input on my interface and capture the raw signal as well, and we're going to blend the two. But of course that presents a potential issue with phase, and I think that trips up a lot of people that do this. We're going to fix that as well. Actually, the easiest way is to just press the phase invert button, but your interface might not have that. Luckily, Reaper has a phase alignment tool built in. We're going to use that. And for guitars, I'm going to show how I record 2 takes, pan 1 left, pan 1 right. And we're going to look at lead as well. So let's go. All right, so here we are back in the door. So let's look at the bass. If I just solo out the bass, I've played the bass, and we have the SansAmp itself, and as I said, I'm splitting the signal with the parallel output to capture just the raw bass DI signal. Sounds like this. But we have a problem. These two tracks are capturing the same performance from the same source. We've got a slight bit of a phasing issue. So you can see where phasing occurs when you have the waveform going up here and at the same time going down here on the other source, and they cancel each other out. That's basically it, and that's what's happening. So it doesn't sound great. We can fix that using Reaper's phase align. So if you press question mark in Reaper and you just type phase, you get the phase alignment, and you can just run it from here. I've made a handy shortcut, phase align. So you select the items and we click phase align, and this is our reference. So the SansAmp is the reference. I'm going to click allow inverting phase, and if I click calculate, you see that it's detected how much it needs to reposition the tracks. I'm going to click apply, and if we listen now, so that's before, and after. You see how that low end comes back in because we're no longer out of phase. Okay, good. Well, what can we do then? Well, we can use the fact that we have these two signals. The SansAmp version is dirty, right? So this one is cleaner. So maybe what a lot of people like to do is you could just high pass the SansAmp, and then low pass the DI signal. So you've got the low end, the sub frequencies of the cleaner DI signal, and we can then blend the two to taste. I don't always do this. Sometimes using a shelf on each of them is better. Okay, I can probably zhuzh this up a little bit more. So I've obviously grouped them into a folder, and I'm going to bring in my favorite plugin for bass and a lot of sources, Vustec Model N. I actually have a video review of this plugin on my channel. So here I've actually clicked this, which puts the EQ before the compressor. I kind of like this for bass because it means I can push the lows a bit more and it'll hit the compressor and smooth things out a bit. I like that sound. That'll do for now. Right, we're speeding along here in this mix. Let's look at guitars. So, guitars, if you want that big sound, you're making a rock, metal, doom, stoner rock track, you must do 2 takes at least, and pan one left, pan one right. You can hard pan, you can pan them 70% left, 70% right, whatever. That is the way to get that stereo separation and that width. 2 completely different takes, and I do 1 take on the bridge pickup and 1 take on the neck pickup, so they're as different as possible. And the reason for that is if you just use a plugin that stereoizes your 1 take, or you do something like take a copy of your take and then you maybe delay one by 20 milliseconds or something, and then you pan them left and right, and it can sound really good in stereo, but it's not going to be mono compatible, meaning as soon as you're listening in mono, it kind of falls apart and sounds weird and phasey. And you got to remember that it's very important to make your tracks mono compatible, meaning it sounds good in mono, not just stereo. And that's because a lot of people are actually going to be listening in mono. You're only actually listening to a stereo track if you're perfectly sat in the middle of your speakers or you're on headphones anyway. And a lot of people are going to be hearing your stuff in less than ideal environments. They might be listening on their phone speaker, which, yeah, I know, but people do it. Or those Bluetooth speaker things that are just 1 speaker, they're obviously going to be mono. So it is important, I think, to make sure your tracks work in mono. So 2 different takes, it sounds like this. Let's listen to it all together. Right, let's bust this out as well before we go any further. So now we have a guitars bus. So on guitars like this, I'm going to reach for Vustec Model N once again. And I like something like one of these as the analog flavor. This is the kind of sound I'm going for the rhythm guitars. I'm not going to bother using compression, maybe because heavily distorted guitars like this are already compressed enough usually. So I'm not doing much, and that's because on the way in, I tracked this straight into my UAD Apollo. And UAD Apollo, you can load UAD plugins into the unison slot, which means they react a bit like the hardware with the with the mic preamp. Like it kind of mimics the impedance and things like that. But I've used this, I've already tracked it through this Neve 88 RS plugin, and so I've already got it pretty much sounding how I want. That's the trick, is to get things right at the source so that you don't have to do much work for mixing. You don't want to have to over mix your track. You shouldn't be fixing things in the mix. You should be making sure that your guitar tone is sounds as good as possible, so it's ready to go. So I'm only really gonna do this to boost certain things in the track, in the context of the track. I'm not making massive moves I'm not redialing in my guitar tone. I've already dialed in the guitar tone that I want. And if you don't feel that way, then you need to go back and start again. Right, that'll do for now. And finally we have lead guitar. So lead guitar, I record my guitars through my Mesa single rectifier, and I have pedal board here, all kinds of pedals. I'm always switching them out, but I really like the MXR carbon copy delay, and that's just going straight into the front of the amp, because I just think it sounds gnarly. I like it. And again, let's throw on the Model N on the lead. And bust it out. Also send it to a reverb. Let's go with Vintage Verb. Send it to the reverb. I'm going to show the reverb envelope so I can automate the amount of reverb I'm getting. I'm also going to do the low cut up to about there, because I don't want the reverb muddying up the lower frequencies. About there. So when it gets a bit more intense, I can have it come in a bit more. This is how you create movement. You don't want things to be too static. It's always good to send things to reverb, send things to delays and other stuff, and automate them. And at appropriate points, you can dial in the reverb and just make it come in sounding huge and cavernous. I always like to tail it off at the end with some reverb. Right, okay, we have our drums, bass, rhythm guitars, lead guitars, and we've done like a little rough mix. For a real track that I was going to release, I'd do a lot more, but in another video maybe I'll go through my guitar rig as well. But now there's one thing left to do, and that's do a bit of processing on the mix bus. I'm going to bring in my hardware stuff and master it. Master as in make it sound finished. I'll be right back. Alright, so pretty much finished the track. It's a rough mix, it's a rough master, but I just wanted to show a process you could perhaps follow, you could perhaps pick up some tips from. I've added in my hardware, so I've got my Elysia Expressor 500, I've got my SSL EQ, and I've got my two HRK ST552 tape style saturation units. It's basically just analog transformer saturation blended in a little bit, really not heavy handed on that. I've got the warm mode on there as well, which I think adds some transistor saturation-y stuff in that as well, which is really nice. And I've got the compression. It's a bit heavy-handed, but I'm not blending it all the way in. I'm blending it maybe 40 to 50%. And if I play the track, I've also got the Ampex ATR 102, absolute classic, used by many engineers on the mix bus. It really just rounds off the track, really just brings it home. And then the Secret Weapon master plan, which is perfect for this kind of project, which is a really quick track. I want it to sound finished at the end. I don't want to spend ages at the mastering stage. It really is perfect for that. I did a review of this plugin a few weeks ago. So if I play the track without the hardware engaged, and then I'm going to engage it, you can hear how much more life it brings to it, right? Without. Again, without the hardware. And with. Am I happy with this mix? Not really. It's not my best mix, but it is what it is. Right guys, I think that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you dig the tune. I hope you picked up some tips for getting bass and guitars done. And I'll see you on the next one. If you like this stuff, click like, subscribe if you feel that you want to see more. And I'll see you next time.